What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly sports history for September 7th, 2024. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Saturday edition of the podcast, a rare victory Saturday. More on the Eagles game in a minute. But first, a few housekeeping notes. We continue to celebrate our second anniversary, which is tomorrow. That means time is running out to get your name entered into the drawing for a free Philly Goat t-shirt. All you have to do is go to the Back to the Future voice and text line, call, text, whatever you want, Philly sports related. You want to talk about the Eagles game last night, be the perfect time to do it. That number is 267-495-8531, 267-495-8531, and then go over to our YouTube channel, subscribe, and that's it. You're entered into a drawing for a free Philly Goat t-shirt. All you got to do, like I said, Back to the Future voice and text line, interact, give your thoughts on the Eagles game, and then go to the YouTube channel at Jimbo_Mott, subscribe, and you will be automatically entered for that free Philly Goat t-shirt of your choice. And thank you, as always, for being a loyal listener. 2 years tomorrow. Cannot believe it. So stay tuned for that. And then go check out Philly Goat. You won't be disappointed. Check out what they have selection-wise. They have you covered. There's a ton of t-shirt companies that are out there that sell Philly Goat or Philly sports-based stuff. Philly Goat is by far the tops. They do charitable work with a lot of our former athletes. UT Douglas Foundation, Battle Brothers for John Kruk, the Derek Dalton Foundation. So it's a one-stop shop. So go to phillygoat.com. Be sure to use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off your order. That's phillygoat.com. Promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off your order. And then call or text the Back to the Future voice and text line. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. And one of those t-shirts could be yours. Also, be sure to check out my boys over at the Clashing Conferences podcast. They got the baseball going strong right now. Those guys are awesome. I spent some time with them a couple weeks ago. And then the OGs for the NFC East are back. They kind of broke down this week's game. Find out if they picked the Eagles to win or not. But that's available wherever you get your podcasts as well as on YouTube. All right, so let's go into this Eagles game. And it's a win. And to take the quote that Andy Reid used to say all the time, anytime you can get a win in the National Football League, it's a good thing. If you're like me, you heard that 1,000 times. You probably still have PTSD because we were getting wins last year, but I don't know how good we felt. Take a deep breath. This was a good win. Very, very good win against a good team that is expected to be one of the major players in the NFC this year. And I think I saw someone tweet this out, and I haven't confirmed it, and I don't even know who tweeted it out, but it's probably the best NFC team the Eagles are going to play this year. So that is a good win. So let's just feel good and celebrate in the victory. All that being said, there is a lot still that needs to be cleaned up and worked on. Before we get into that, I will say 50% of you voted yesterday in the question of the day, said Eagles in a close one. So you were right. It was pretty much split down the middle between Eagles and Packers. And I think going into the game, that's what we were expecting. But it wasn't pretty. And you kind of expect that in week one now that you don't play preseason games anymore. Well, the starters don't play. But it was a very inconsistent game. And they started off sloppy, and they were able to make the plays and do what they needed to do down the stretch to win the game. So I think from that perspective, we saw last year, you just knew they were going to lose that game. This year, this game yesterday felt a lot different. But as our old pal Big Red said, anytime you get a win in the National Football League, it's a good thing. So let's go back and look at the keys of the game that I laid out yesterday. Handling the blitz, I think for the most part, the Packers didn't necessarily blitz as much as I thought they would. But when they did, Jalen and the line were able to handle it. And they did. The fact that Kellen Moore went to Saquon Barkley a lot certainly helped with that. And I will say, I think this offense is going to be a problem for teams this year. More on that in a minute. The pass rush, not so much. If anybody sees Bryce Huff, tell him the plane is probably getting ready to leave because he was an absolute non-factor. I think Josh Sweat played a decent game. Brandon Graham was making plays. Linebackers, they were very inconsistent. They played decent, I would say. N'Kobe Dean and Zach Bond. Zach Bond obviously was all over the field making plays, but they gave up a ton of long runs right up the gut that they probably shouldn't have. And I will say the defensive line did their job eating up the blockers, but I mean, they were just out of position and missing tackles. So that is definitely something that needs to be worked on. I also said they needed to play a clean game and not be sloppy. Well, I guess the Packers were sloppier, so they played a cleaner game than Green Bay. But you kind of expect that without the starters playing preseason. So that's something that certainly needs to be worked on. As I said, though, this game felt different than last year's games. Yes, they were winning almost with smoke and mirrors last year. And while they played sloppy, I saw a lot of positives in this game. If they can get it consistent and cleaned up, like I said, that offense is going to be a problem. And I think you saw the fact that the team did not play in the preseason, the starters, that showed. And I will say, once they got to, I mean, who are you going to cover? I mean, seriously, this offense is going to be a problem. Because once they started to key on Saquon, and once AJ got that deep touchdown, that was, to me, the turning point in the game. Because at that point, they were like, okay, they can go deep, and then you leave Saquon with holes to run in, and then Smitty going across the middle. Goddard had a decent game. This offense is going to be like stupid good. Like it's ridiculous. There's really no need for it. I thought Sirianni coached very well. I probably would have gone for the touchdown late in the fourth quarter and made the Packers go 99 yards. He kicked the field goal, forced them to go to the touch. I mean, it was a 50-50 thing. And I think anybody out there, I could probably pull 100 of you, and 50 of you would say go for it, 50 of you would say kick it. And I can't fault him for that. He seemed to be in control of the game. I was frustrated with some of the penalties, which I think we all were. And I mean, the whole illegal motion lining up, like I don't know. Like I don't understand it. I certainly looked like Lane Johnson was the one of the ones that I saw was on. Like he was even saying, he was like, my head was there. So remains to be seen whether they're going to consistently call that. But I don't know. But again, we'll take the win. Wasn't pretty, and there's definitely a lot of things they need to clean up. But I think overall we will take it. And again, somebody go tell Bryce Huff the plane is probably going to leave soon, so he doesn't want to get left behind in Brazil. Yeah. I mean, that was the typical bend but don't break defense. You got some time to work on it now. Back to work, Atlanta, Monday night. You got the extra time to work on it. I think if this team can put up 34 points a game, you're going to be in a good position with the defense. But I thought the corners played pretty well. For the most part, a lot of the catches were sort of like underneath catches. They gave up some plays that they probably shouldn't have. Quinyon, I thought was solid. But again, it's a win. We will take it. Doesn't have to be pretty first week. If this was week 11 and they played like that, I might be concerned. All right, so our bet cashed. We're 1-0 on the year. The over also cashed. I did end up playing the over, so that was a good, nice little day on the Eagles game, or night, I should say, on the Eagles for me. So we start the season off 1-0. We're already better than we were last year, so we got that going for us. All right, one thing I want to try new this year is I'm going to do 3 stars of the game and then 3 GOATs. I thought it worked out well for me, just an organization-wise, breaking down my 3 keys to the game. Like I said, they handled the blitz well. Pass rush give them an incomplete on that because they did put pressure when they needed to, but they certainly could have been better, and they didn't play a clean game, but they didn't play as dirty of a game as what Green Bay did. So 3 stars, obviously, welcome to Philadelphia, Saquon. What a game for him. Lived up to all the hype. I would have loved to have seen him get that 4th touchdown, and that's part of why I was wanting him to go. I'm playing him in one of my fantasy leagues, so it would have just my week's probably destroyed anyway, but it would have been nice. But welcome to Philly, Saquon. What a game. And how about that catch? Like, that was just a great and that's why I think this offense is going to be a problem, because that was a great drawn up play by Kellen Moore, perfectly executed with the way that Smitty and AJ just kind of opened it up. And what a catch, what a throw. So Saquon, you are our 1st star of the game. AJ did beast mode, Mega John type things. What a game for him. And, I mean, I don't think there's a better receiver in the league right now, to be completely honest with you. Certainly top 3. And then I'll give Quinyon the 3rd star of the game, because I think playing in his first NFL game under the pressure with Jordan Love, with all the hype and the expectations, I thought he handled it well. There's definitely some things he needs to work on, but I think he'll do that, because everything that I'm hearing and seeing is that he is a hard worker and wants to get better. So 3 stars of the game, Saquon, AJ, and Quinyon. And then we're going to go with the GOATs, the 3 GOATs of the game. Not the greatest of all time, just the actual GOATs. Cam Jurgens. And it's tough to put this on Cam because of the fact the line didn't play bad at all. But they got to work on that. The first fumble was certainly, you could tell that Jalen wasn't expecting it. The second one late down there near the goal line, that may have been Jalen's fault, but they got to clean that up. And I know you've had Kelsey there for 13 years or whatever it is, but you have to clean that up. That was not good. And I believe that Jeff Stoutland will help clean that up. So hopefully, Cam, this is the last time you're on the GOAT list. Vontae Maddox. Hopefully Isaiah Rodgers' hand is better. Hopefully Sidney Brown's knee gets better, because I didn't think Avonte had a good game at all. I would have put the secondary up there as one of the strengths of this team, but Avonte Maddox got burnt a couple times, was out of position, missed a couple tackles. So Avonte Maddox, you are our number 2 GOAT of the day. And I got to give Jalen Hurts the 3rd GOAT spot on this one. Yes, he had 278 yards, 2 touchdowns, but 2 bad interceptions. Like, both of those interceptions were just horrible throws, bad decisions, especially the one in the end zone. Like, the Eagles could have won by double digits if he didn't throw that touchdown in the end zone. And plus, what's up with the play calling there? Kellen Moore, you get an honorable mention, and it's hard to give you the GOAT status because of the play calling and the way the game played out. But why are you not running the ball 3 times there, kick the points, go up 8, and then really let the defense tee off? Like, they should not have been throwing that. But Jalen, that was a terrible pass. And I know people are going to be like, oh, well, I already saw it on Twitter this morning. People are on both sides of this, but Jalen, I mean, yeah, 278 yards was nice, 2 touchdowns. He had some good plays. Couldn't do much with his legs, even though there was a lot of opportunities for him. I don't know if that was just the scheme that the Packers had. They weren't going to let him beat him that way. But those interceptions were just dumb. So I guess the whole no interceptions in training camp thing doesn't mean shit right now, because that was just bad play calling or bad decision making with Jalen. Again, though, we will take it. Anytime you get a win in the National Football League, it is good, especially because the Packers are supposed to be one of the big rivals. They were supposed to compete for the NFC champ, or they still could, depending on how bad Jordan Love is hurt. But that's a good win. 100% a good win. They have some things to work on. I want to see the defense figure something out. Like, there was just a lot of inconsistencies, because there were times they played great, and then there were times they looked worse than last year. So, Vic, I need you to get to the lab, and you got a 9-hour flight home. just get it figured out, Vic. But on to Atlanta, which is going to be a tough game. Monday night, Nick Foles night. Looking forward to going down to that one. But we will take it. Good start to the season. Now we can relax and just enjoy a weekend of football. I cannot wait. So many good games tomorrow. Looking forward to Michigan, Texas today. Go Blue. Sorry, Greg. But one last thing about the game, and then we'll kind of turn the page on that. If you're not already, you need to follow Jason Kelsey on Twitter. And if you were like me, you're kind of going through Twitter and seeing people's reactions. He was a good follow, calling out like what they should do. He was saying, this is what happened here. Good job. He called out a couple times with Jurgens pulling and Lane Johnson pulling. So go. I think it's worth a follow. I don't know if he's going to be able to, with his ESPN job, be tweeting out during Eagles games all the time, but it was definitely a good follow. All right, so that leads us to today's question of the day. Based on what you saw yesterday, do you feel better or worse about the upcoming season? I feel better. I think there's still a lot of question marks. There's a lot of things that need to be cleaned up. But I didn't see anything that was broken beyond repair like I saw last year. So what do you think? Better or worse now after seeing Game 1? 267-495-8531. That's the Back to the Future voice and text line. That's a great way to get your interaction in with the Back to the Future text line and qualify for that free Philly Goat shirt. I feel better. But let me know what you think. Do you feel better or worse? You can call the Back to the Future voice and text line. Hit me up on social media. Jimbo_Mott at Twitter and TikTok, at Philly Jimbo on Instagram. I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, you name it, I'm likely on it. But do you feel better or worse about the Eagles? I feel better because I think the things that didn't go well are fixable, for right now. And I don't think there's any need to kind of go back and have PTSD about last year. I think we're going to be okay. But 267-495-8531 gets you into the Back to the Future voice and text line. How are we feeling? Better or worse about the season after hearing or seeing yesterday's game? All right, you may have missed this in all of the excitement leading up to the Eagles game, but the Phillies put a beating on the Marlins yesterday, 16-2. Now, you probably hear that score if you don't know what happened in the game or watch any of it. I had it on the iPad while I was watching outside on the Eagles on the big screen. But only 2 home runs. Literally everybody hit yesterday. It was just a great offensive explosion. I know it's the Marlins, but this is what a team that has World Series aspirations, that's what they do to a team like the Marlins. Zach Wheeler was outstanding. It probably could have been better if he didn't have so many long layoffs because the offense was scoring so many runs. But those are games not only do you have to win, they're doing what they need to do against the teams they need to do it against. Because the Braves and the Mets continue to win, and they're not picking up any ground. They're still up 8 games on both of those teams. It's just... It was a great game. It was a fun sort of appetizer leading into the Eagles game. And then during commercials, just looking over at the iPad. And it seems like every time I looked at my iPad, the Phillies had another run. It was just absolutely fun to watch. And all 3 fans that were in Miami yesterday saw it. The magic number is down to 14 to clinch the division. It's down to 12 for a playoff spot. Things are looking good. Milwaukee lost again, so the Phils are up 4 games on them for that second seed. And they actually are up 1 game now. They are currently the top team in the National League because the Dodgers lost as well. All you got to do is keep on winning. And when you're playing a team, like I said, again, like the Marlins, you have to take advantage of them because they have a lot of games coming up against the Mets. So just keep chipping away at that magic number. So it's down to 14 for the division. 12 for a playoff spot. They're back at it this afternoon. Aaron Nola goes on the mound. Let's just keep this win streak going, and hopefully the bats keep up like that. I really, the fact that they had 2 home runs and scored 16 runs, that's the kind of hitting you want. Now, I know it's cheesy and cliche-ish, Hopefully they save some runs for the rest of September, but we'll see. So good win for the Phils. Alec Boehm is on the 10-day IL with his hand. He said it still hurts when he swings. I'm okay with that. Rest him up as much as possible. Topper said it might take a little bit longer. He had a similar injury I think his rookie year or somewhere along the line. He had a similar injury, and it took a little bit longer than 10 days. But like I said, if he's hurt, rest him now. There's no need to, because Edmundo played well. These guys like Cody Clemens and Weston Wilson, they're really like making a push to try to be on this postseason roster, which you have to love and admire. So take your time, Bomer. I'd rather have you for games in October than games against the Marlins in September. All right, today we're going to go back to 2014. And on this day in 2014, the Eagles beat the Jaguars 34-17 as they opened up Chip Kelly's second season as coach at the Link. And I remember being at this game and being like, oh my God, what are we seeing? Jaguars scored twice in the first quarter. Chad Henne threw to why can't I think of his name? Alan Hearns. I was like, wait a minute, I can't think of his name. But Chad Henne to Alan Hearns. Nick Foles fumbled twice and threw an interception in the end zone in the first half. Now, that seemed to be characteristic throughout Nick's career, but he was coming off a season the year before that he only turned the ball over 4 times. The year before was the 27-2 year. So the fact that he had 2 fumbles and an interception in the first half was not good. They were able to get it together in the second half, though. Darren Sproles opened up the second half with a 49-yard touchdown run. Nick Foles threw 2 touchdowns, one to Zach Ertz, one to Jeremy Maclin, and then Fletcher Cox sealed the deal when Trent Cole, I forgot Trent Cole and Fletcher Cox actually played together, but Trent Cole forced a Chad Henne fumble. Fletcher Cox picked it up and ran it in for the game-sealing touchdown. Foles ended up with 322 yards, got it together, but those 3 costly turnovers and plagued him that entire season until he got hurt in week 9. If you remember, that was the Mark Sanchez year where they had that big win against the Cowboys on Thanksgiving and then lost 3 in a row after that. They did finish 10-6, missed the playoffs. And then after that season, the whole shitstorm happened with Chip Kelly getting rid of or trading LaShawn and bringing in Kiko Alonso and all those guys. But for this day only, it seemed like we were like, okay, the Eagles are back. They're going to build on last year. But they beat the Jaguars to open the season 34-17 after falling behind in the first half. They were down 17-0 at halftime in this game. But they were able to battle back. Nick Foles got it together. I remember that run by Darren Sproles. And it was, you kind of got a sense after that run. You're like, okay, they're going to come back and win this game. But that happened on this day back in 2014. All right, finally today, we are wrapping up our second anniversary special. Tomorrow, we will take it back and celebrate 2 years worth of this day in Philly sports history. Today, we're going to take a look at Phillies catchers. And catchers are number 2 if you're filling out a scorebook. So that's why we're looking at that. And the Phillies have had many, many great catchers over the years. All-Stars, Wall of Famers, Gold Glovers. I don't think the Phillies have ever had a Hall of Fame catcher primarily play for them. I looked. I don't know if there's any from back in the early days of Major League Baseball. Excuse me. Bob Boone certainly is probably the best of the bunch. But Darren Doughton certainly played well, was an all-star, fan favorite. Chooch, one of my favorites. Mike Lieberthal, say what you want about him. He was very solid throughout his career. And then, of course, we have the best in the business right now, JT. So that's a good group there. But I wanted to take a look at some of the other catchers and just interesting names that have come through Philly. Tim McCarver, who was Steve Carlton's personal catcher. One of my all-time favorite Tim McCarver moments is when he was interviewing Deion Sanders after the Braves clinched the division or NLCS or something. And Deion Sanders, forget what Tim McCarver said about Deion Sanders before, but Deion took a bucket of water, like a square Tupperware container, threw it at Tim McCarver, and then my favorite thing, Tim McCarver, "You're a real man, Deion. You're a real man." Crying about getting dumped water on. Probably not a good look for Deion, but one of my favorite moments. So if you get a chance, YouTube that, and you'll get a laugh. Mom, if you're listening, I'll give your boy Clay Dalrymple, give him a shout out. Not a very good catcher or a player for that matter, but I think he played on the '64 team that collapsed. But I'll give him credit because one of my mom's favorite players, him and Cookie Rojas were her two favorite players. Not a catcher, though. Benito Santiago, I always forget, played a season here in Philly and actually sort of resurrected his career while he was here. This one would have been a great one for the nickname tournament, but he only played 1 year, and it was in the 50s, I believe. Choo Choo Coleman. There's a name for you. Choo Choo Coleman. And then Lance Parrish, probably one of the biggest free agents bust in Phillies history. They signed him. He was supposed to come in. He was an all-star. And then didn't do anything, left here, and then had success when he went back to the American League. So thank you for that, Lance. And then some other guys from Philly, not so much the Phillies. Mickey Cochran is a Hall of Famer who played for the Philadelphia Athletics. Mike Piazza is a Hall of Famer from Norristown. And Roy Campanella, who also is a Hall of Famer from Philadelphia, was a catcher for the Brooklyn Dodgers. And that is our second anniversary celebration of catchers, who are number 2 in the official scoring in a Major League scorebook. On this day, back in 2014, Eagles opened the season with a win over the Jaguars. After falling down 17-0, they battled back to score 34 unanswered points. That was back in the era of Chip Kelly. Phil's looking to keep the win streak alive and beat up on the Fish a little bit today, and I'm all here for it. We're rooting against the Braves and the Mets, Dodgers and Brewers today. Let's start building a lead here in September and then kind of go into coast mode to finish out and enter the fall season. Be sure to give me your thoughts on the Eagles game, 267-495-8531. That's the Back to the Future voice and text line. Are you feeling better or worse about the season after seeing yesterday's game? I'm definitely encouraged. I think if they just clean up a couple things on offense, this offense could be unstoppable. And I know that's going out there and being a little crazy. And I'm going to say something that a lot of you might not like. And you might say, hold on, pump the brakes. But I'm getting like Greatest Show on Turf vibes from this offense because you can't double team anybody because somebody's going to get beat. So I'm not willing to go there yet because I'm not putting Jalen Hurts in Kurt Warner's category. But if Jalen can play smarter and clean up the mistakes, look out. The sky is the limit with this team. And then we can just trust. We knew the defense was going to be a struggle to start the season anyway. So the fact they were able to pull this win out, I will gladly take it. But are you feeling better or worse? Let me know on the Back to the Future voice and text line. Then go subscribe to the YouTube channel for your chance to win a free Philly Goat shirt. This is it. This has been this day in Philly sports history for September 7th, 2024. Enjoy the victory Saturday. Stress-free weekend now of watching football. Let's just enjoy this win for a little bit. Vic, I hope you're on that plane, game planning and scheming up some ways to make the defense look better. Make sure that Bryce Huff is on the plane. Don't leave him behind. We're paying him too much money to leave him down in Brazil. But if anybody's seen Bryce Huff, tell him we're looking for him. Go have yourselves a Saturday. My name is Jim Montgomery, and until next time, I'll see you when I see you.